Hello, dear students. Today's video is going to be about requirements for translators. Requirements defined by Canadian National Translation Services and also defined by UN. Of course, we have discussed these in our previous lessons, and they are more or less similar to each other, but you should be informed about each detail regarding the requirements for translators. Let's start from definition of professional translator according to the Canadian National Translation Services. Professional translator is a person who is able to translate in sequence and with high-level precision, a person who follows all the standards and ethical rules, ethical principles, and the person who has good command of at least 2 languages and has high-level expertise in that sphere, let's say, in specialized sphere. These requirements are defined by Canadian National Translation Services, and if we interpret these requirements, we can say that having good command of language is not enough. I mean, you should have satisfactory knowledge in the field that you study, that you are interpreting. This means you should have knowledge in different cultures, or both cultures of those languages. If you study, let's say, English and French at the same time, you should be able to interpret, to have opinion about English literature, English art, English culture, and also French culture. So being able to discuss and to have extra ideas about several fields of that nation, several fields, science, art, politics, economics, and etc. All these matters, principles are very and critically important. And UN also established some standards for translators. According to UN, translators should be able to speak at least 3 UN official languages. Not 2, but at least 3 UN official languages. And not only language knowledge is essential. Besides language, you should be able to communicate according to the cultural rules, according to the ethical rules of those 3 nations. I mean, if you have good command of languages, you speak fluently, you are very flexible in all these languages. Additionally, you should be able to know what this nation likes, what this nation prohibits, or what this nation prefers. This is important fact, because while translating and while interpreting, I mean orally, you can have some challenges because for some nations the point that are let's say funny, this can be tragically important, or let's say these points can be maybe sad for other nations. So if you know their history, if you know their cultural preferences, you are not going to have any problems with this issue. But if you are not informed about that nation's history, culture, maybe some historical points, historical importances, this is going to be, I mean, difficult and challenge for you, especially while oral interpretation, because when you do a written translation, you can have some research you can do, and you can carry out any surveys, research. It's not difficult that much. But if you are doing it orally, you should be ready for all kinds of challenges. And according to UN standards, translator, especially interpreter, should be physically, psychologically ready for working process. What does it mean? As you know, simultaneous interpreters take turns when they are translating. I mean, they translate in every 30 or 20 minutes. What does it mean? This means that a person should be ready for working under pressure, and this preparedness can end, I mean, successfully, can cause successful work. Let's say achievement for that person. But if you are not able to work under pressure in team, or you can't work with, let's say, a technology, you can't manage working with technology, this can cause real problems for you. For example, there is a point example that translator, once translator had problems with Boost, translation booth, simultaneous interpreters use, of course, booths in order to be in soundproof space. And there was some technical problems in this gadget, and that interpreter started to translate, to do consecutive interpretation, because he or she had no other choice to do. For that reason, you should be psychologically ready, prepared for any challenge, for any problem. And your decisions should be very fast. So as a conclusion for these requirements, we can say that knowledge of source and target languages, according to UN, there should be at least 3 languages, and you should have information about traditions, cultural points, cultural features of both or 3 nations. Also, you should be able, of course, to use all types of methods of translation, and you should follow your intuition. It means in case you have some problems, you should be a fast decision maker. Fast decision maker means you will find the way out very easily. And the last, broad knowledge of other matters, it means worldview. Worldview is substantially important, especially in the work of translator. Okay, I have told you about the knowledge of translators regarding the nation's cultures. Now we're going to touch the point about approach, attitude toward a translator during different periods of time, starting from ancient times until now. Which kind of attitudes have been formed towards translators and interpreters? Of course, translators were regarded as wise people in the past, especially when they were regarded as people who helped them in difficult situations, in communication, negotiations with other countries. Of course, nowadays, most of the people know a lot of languages, and translators become a little bit, let's say, useless, or somehow these kind of people are not essentially required because of technological programs, as you know, let's say dictionaries, and languages spread very fast, and almost everybody has good command of languages. As we said, only knowledge of languages cannot be enough. This is not sufficient. For that reason, yet translators are regarded as important mediators in communication process with other countries, or in scientific, let's say, projects. So especially in ancient times, among Greek especially Greek scholars, let's say scientists, in their libraries, translators were considered wise people. And they were respected very much in a high level. Also in African tribes, in ancient times, African tribes also approached translators as people who help them to survive when they need very important information that should be got from other people, from other nations, when they don't understand each other. In this communicative process, translators helped those people. For that reason, wisdom is a specific feature that all the time regarded as wise people. And also during Middle Ages, translators in Turkey have got a lot of let's say respect, regard, and we know that in 16th century, translators had a special mosque in Turkey, and this means that they were regarded as really wise and very essential people, crucial people for that country. However, besides these positive points, unfortunately, there are experiences that translators have become martyrs, unfortunately, and they died, they were killed during work process. So while working, they encountered a lot of problems. If we talk about wars, especially during wars, regarding terror groups and important tasks, when they were implementing their important tasks, some of them were killed, and there are some records about translators martyrs, and until now we can read information about those translators. It's so sad that while working, while implementing your job, you can face this kind of violence and you can be killed. So in a modern world, in 2007, the thing that I told just seconds ago, we can say this information about Taliban groups. According to the newspaper called La Repubblica, correspondent of this newspaper has written that I am in danger, please help me. As a translator, I face here threats, and they threaten me that I will be killed. So these experiences, of course, are disappointing, but as all professions, occupations have some difficulties, challenges. While implementing this job also, everybody can encounter any kind of problems, but again, we should be cheerful and hopeful about our jobs, especially so the same kind of information, I mean the translators that have become martyrs, this information also belongs to Ireland Translation Association, and they also have this kind of fact that a lot of and a great number of translators become martyrs during wars, in the wars. And for example, in 2006, Afghanistan, in Iraq, Iran, in different Muslim countries that wars are continuing until now, at least 261 translators have been killed. So, of course, these points should be considered. I hope we will not face this kind of facts anymore, especially in this difficult time. But at the same time, we should be hopeful that being translator is very respectful job, and you have a lot of privilege. And in the past also, translators had a lot of privilege. As I mentioned, people established different mosques for them, they built mosques, or they have been given some privilege as not paying some payments to the government, or let's say getting free food. Of course, it was in the past, and nowadays also we should remember and be reminded that if we have the skills that I have mentioned before, as the knowledge of 3-4 languages, at least 3 languages, knowledge of literary traditions of nations, and a good and large worldview and vision, high-level vision, we can be regarded also as respectful and wise part of society. Considering that nowadays internet programs, technology maybe create some problems for this job. I mean, our importance has been decreased, but anyway, I want you to be hopeful and to have determination in order to get the skills that I have mentioned. That's all about the lecture. Next video will be about some organizations that works for translators. Okay, thank you for watching.